Hey everybody, welcome back to Ziggy Plays Evolve. This is going to be the second episode, and it's going to be our second kind of looking at example episode. We're going to be playing the Trapper today, and this Trapper specifically is going to be Maggie. The Trapper's job overall is to kind of locate and pin down the monsters so that you can force fights in the early and mid game. She's incredibly important. This early mid game fight mechanic is super important because in the late game the monster gets really strong. Being able to stop the monster stage 1 and stage 2 is pivotal. Maggie herself has the most important weird thing about Maggie is she has this trap jaw named Daisy. Daisy, you'll see her in this opening sequence, but she's a big like dog kind of monster thing, and she can smell the monster from really far away, and she kind of follows the tracks and finds the tracks. So as I explained in the monster video, the monster can crouch and kind of not leave tracks, which can make it really hard to figure out which direction to be heading in as the hunters. And Daisy doesn't need tracks, she'll just kind of go in the correct direction. She's kind of slow though, so if you're facing a fast monster like the Wraith, which is what we're facing this round, it can be really hard to keep up because Maggie will just follow the trail, which means you're always kind of like a step behind where the monster is. But she's important, like as you see in the beginning, the foot tracks, like the tracks lead in one direction, but it turns out the monster went the other one, so he tried to trip us up from the very start. The second thing that the Trapper has is usually harpoons, but it's basically any way to immobilize the monster. Harpoons we have harpoon traps. Like any other placeable trap in this game, you can have 5 of them on the map at one time. What they do and what the harpoon traps do is, if anything comes in within a proximity of them, they'll shoot a harpoon at the monster and then keep it tethered, and the tether will like stop its movement within a certain area. The monster can attack the tether and break it, but in the middle of a fight can be really important. The third and most important thing is this mobile arena, which is kind of like a big dome shield, and you see the AoE of it here. You can see how big it is. And the dome shield is a big dome that any monster or hunter can walk in, but they can't leave. And what it does is force fights in the early and mid game, and in the late game as well. But it's most important in the early and mid game. It might be the most important hunter ability in the entire game in general, because being able to make the monster fight you in the early and mid game is when it's going to be the most vulnerable and when you have the highest chance of killing it. This is especially important when you're fighting something like the Wraith, who's very weak at stages 1 and 2, but at stage 3 can be probably the most dangerous of all the monsters out so far. So getting him killed in the early game is really important. The thing to remember when you're using this mobile arena though is that it takes a second to wind up and actually initiate, so the monster does have a chance to get out of it. And I see right here, I thought that was the monster, and I was wrong. The Wraith has a illusion ability where he can make a copy of himself that'll run around for a second then disappear, and he was outside the bubble, so we had to disengage it. This is a really bad thing for me because as you can see in the bottom right, the bubble has a long cooldown, the mobile arena. So I'm sitting here without a mobile arena chasing this thing down, and we all know that I can't trap it immediately, so at the moment we're just trying to keep an eye on it, make sure that we can try to follow it, and when the trap comes back up, or the mobile arena comes back up, I'll be able to land it. So because I'm not doing really anything else, I'm dropping these harpoon traps in places where I don't think the monster's going to see, but if he doubles back, might run into and get stuck, and just might give us enough time to find it and catch up with it again. This doesn't happen all that often, but it's important if you're not doing anything to just lay him down, just in case. I mean, the more area you have covered, the better, basically. So I noticed that the monster's pretty close. I get my bubble shield back out just in case. The recharge is almost done, but the Wraith is really fast. He's out of there pretty quick. He's far out of the bubble at the moment. By the way, the Royal Crocodile, who's playing the Assault this round, is my buddy Dan, and when I'm doing live videos, he's going to be the guy who's playing with me. There may be other people who join me, but for the most part, he's going to be the main guy. So you'll see him play around as, I think he's probably Hyde this round in the Assault. So at this moment, we're just trying to find the monster. It would probably be a good idea for me to follow Daisy, but we have a general idea of where it went, like in the direction, and then I lost which idea, like which direction he went, so I decided to wait for Daisy to come back. But he scared the birds, so we know that he's over here somewhere. And somebody pings. It must have been the support ping the monster over there. So I try to take the western route, see if I can cut him off, because going straight towards the monster is rarely a good idea, because the monster will typically go left or right and circle around, and you know, by the time you get to the point where the monster was, it's not typically there. I think the character actually DC'd. I was a little iffy because it's just kind of sitting in place, so but I did lay down the bubble shield. He did disconnect, but now once the AI connects to the monster, he takes over and starts wrecking stuff. So I noticed that the monster is hanging out around this big rock, and you know, that's what I would do too if I was the monster, hang out above, so it's harder for the hunters to kind of keep up with him. So I'm laying down all these traps nearby just in case he's going up and down enough, kind of slow his movement. Also, we killed this tyrant who had a perk, and the perk was health regeneration, so that kind of helps our team out during this fight. But I decided to keep laying down these traps. Monsters using supernova there, and I apologize for the frame rate. There's a lot going on in terms of particle effects at this part, and my computer isn't exactly the best. I'm hoping to get that fixed and sorted out, but I keep laying down traps, and you see I count him with one of them, kind of slowed him down. The Wraith is really, really fast and hard to keep track of, so those harpoon traps are really, really helpful. Keeps him in one place, so it's easier to get for him to get shot. Like right here, he's about to escape when he gets caught, and allows us to get a little bit more damage on. The submachine gun that the trapper has doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but when I'm not placing traps, you know, the more damage you're tacking on, the better. So I noticed that the monster's going back south-ish, and I kind of want to go southeast, because I feel like if our team's kind of going down south, he's going to try to get away, which will be off to the southeast side. It's really vital in this game that if you're going to be chasing the monster, to try to cut it off as much as possible, because oftentimes going straight towards the monster's going to have the advantage. He's much, much faster than you. He can cover terrain much faster, and he'll have way more options. Maybe splitting up into two groups, going in two different directions and pinching him, often really, really good choice, and will make it easier to find him and ping him and things of that sort. So I lose him. I'm not really sure where to go. He could have gone in any direction, so I wait for my team and I go follow Daisy again. Daisy will lead us in the correct direction. I have my bubble shield out just in case. I'm not really laying down any traps at the moment, because if she's nearby, I really want to just be able to lay down the bubble shield and have it be done. And this is really when Daisy shines, is when the monster's evolving. And I don't really show it right here, but usually Daisy isn't fantastic because the monster's always moving around, but when the monster's evolving, he has to sit in the same place for maybe 20-30 seconds, and Daisy can kind of catch up, and that gives us a chance to catch the monster while they're evolving, which is when they're most vulnerable. And I think that's what kind of makes Maggie a pretty decent trapper, at least better than some in that sense. So having that most vulnerable moment is really, really nice. I get caught by a blitz leopard, I think, is what they're called. And these are really, really annoying because they're fast and they're hard to see. It's a dark map. They're like colored black or dark gray, so I didn't even see him. He came up from behind me, pounced on me, and it really slows you down. That's another thing. You always have to be on the lookout for the dangerous mobs. It really sucks when you're about to go chase down the monster, and then, you know, your medic or your assault, or even, I guess, if you haven't laid down the bubble yet, get your trapper, if they get caught before you can run into the monster, or before everybody gets to the monster, it can really, really mess up your team in the team fight. So I'm just following Daisy, hoping Daisy just keeps leading me by all these like crazy, scary monsters, so I'm doing my best to avoid them. That albino back there. Daisy tends to lead me by a lot of dangerous mobs and gets me hurt on the way, just because Daisy doesn't take the best routes all the time. The AI routing is just like, oh, there's a big monster, let's walk right by it. Anyway, so monster scare some birds. I again have to go over a tyrant. All these huge, scary beasts, and I'm kind of far away from my team. Getting caught would be bad for me, for sure. Getting caught when you're away from your team is almost a guaranteed death, or at least a down. Oh, there's another albino. Just all over the place. As you can see, it's hard to manage your jetpack. I'm almost always out of jetpack fuel walking around. It takes a lot of jetpack fuel to get anywhere. Trying to walk around is probably the best plan. Just get it regenerated. So when you can walk around and get jetpack fuel back, do it, because it'll give you a really, really good advantage when you actually find the monster and chasing it down. Oh, there he is. And again, I apologize for frame rate. The Wraith has a lot of moves that leave behind a ton of particle effects, and that really messes up my my computer sometimes. Sometimes it's fine, sometimes it's not. I don't really understand what happened with this recording, but that's okay. But you can see it's really pretty. He leaves behind all these like very nice rainbow-esque mist. Very nice, but you know, it's dangerous. Don't want to be near him. So we're just kind of getting led in circles. He's kiting us really, really hard. But we did a lot of damage in that first fight. And I think that's the important thing to remember about the Wraith is he does a lot of damage in the late game, but if you can do a decent amount of damage in the early game, his armor isn't that great, and he'll be stuck with that low amount of health for pretty much the rest of the game. He's nearby, and I can't tell where he is, so I don't want to drop the bubble shield quite yet. Oh, I did drop the bubble shield. JK. I wanted to make sure that I got him, and I was really worried. I was asking my friend, did I get the bubble shield? Is he in there? And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. You got it. I couldn't see him when I dropped it, so I was a little worried, but I got a ping. My friend told me to drop it, so that's what I did. Wow. Yeah, so I'm placing down all these traps, these harpoon traps. I try to place them in places where I don't think the monster's going to see. I think that's most important, because if the monster can see where the trap is coming from, it makes it easier. And also changing elevations, right? Because the monster has to attack the tether, and if the tether is coming from like a weird direction, it means he has to turn and look in a strange direction, which means he's not attacking you. He really messes with this fight, though. We have a really hard time finding him and keeping up with him, and he just kind of circles around us, and I don't think we really get even past his armor. We catch him, and we're all just kind of like bumbling around. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? And then he escapes. And, you know, teammates are pinging, he's over here, so we try to follow him. But as you can see, we did a decent amount of health the first skirmish. And that was when he was level 1, so even when he leveled up, he still got a lot of that damage done. Wraith is very glass cannon, very weak, but high damage. Yeah. Oh, I should talk about the rest of the team. So we have Lazarus on our team, he's our medic. There's where the monster evolved. Lazarus, as a medic, doesn't really heal the team, but he's really good at reviving. He has this device called the Lazarus Glove. And the Lazarus Glove will bring back an incapacitated hunter without giving him the strike or the demerit, which means that you will have your max health instead of having, like, you know, a quarter of it missing or something, or a fifth of it missing. And he also can revive people back from the dead, so even when you've been knocked out and killed, he can bring you back from that state with maximum health, which is really important. But he can't heal during the fight, really, besides his AoE heal, which is not fantastic. Also, I get tackled by another Blitz Leopard again. Oh, and the other thing I should say is Daisy acts as a 5th member, right? So Daisy can run around. Daisy can bring people back from, you know, being incapacitated, so she can have them recover. She's really good in that sense. It means the monster has a whole nother character to think about when in the team fight. You know, someone gets knocked down, Daisy can pick them back up, which is super helpful. I didn't want the jump bonus. The health regen was super nice. I decided to keep that. I think it's health regen. I could be wrong. It doesn't look like it's health regen. It's something. It's whatever we picked up. Might be reload speed, item reload speed, so I'm able to drop more bubble shields. I think that's what it is. It's maybe ability reload speed, and that, which is really good for the trapper, because it means that if I miss a bubble shield, it's not as detrimental. And this is really important when fighting the Wraith, because you're probably gonna miss a bubble shield. Wraith is incredible. Oh, he's up behind me too. The teammates are like, "Oh, what are you doing, trapper? He's right behind you." And I'm like, "What?" Yeah, so they were pinging. He flew over my head, and I didn't even notice. Which is really shitty. I could have had him caught right there. And instead, I lost him. So, yeah, Lazarus can bring people back to life. Our support is Hank. He's the starter support. He's got this orbital drop, which you saw during that last team fight. He didn't hit with it, but it does massive damage in, like, a central area with a tiny bit of AoE. And, you know, it's really, really good doing damage. He also has a shield gun that kind of works like Val's... Oh, you haven't seen Val. It kind of works like the meta gun, but you aim it at your teammate, and it gives them a shield like the Assault's shield, which is really, really cool. And it can be really, really helpful in team fights when the monster is singling out a single person, and you just, like, cover them with that shield, and the monster stops being able to do damage. So it's really, really helpful in team fights. Our Assault is Hide, I do believe, and Hide has a flamethrower, and the flamethrower just does massive damage at short range. So the Assault is the least complicated class. It's basically point and shoot, but yeah, Hide has a flamethrower, does some AoE damage, it's short range, and it does some burn damage as well over time. He also has a minigun, which is for his medium range. He doesn't have a long range attack, but he has medium range. And then he has poison grenades that he can kind of throw into crevices, or if the monster's trying to hide in a place, you can kind of flush him out with these poison grenades. And they can be really, really helpful for getting the monster into a position that you want him to be in. So we're still looking for this monster. I'm trying to follow Daisy because we lost its trail a while back. And this makes me nervous a little bit. I think it makes the whole team nervous, because having a Wraith at level 2 that you don't know where it's at can be really scary, because that can mean a level 3 Wraith or stage 3 Wraith very, very quickly. You know, a stage 3 Wraith is something you definitely don't want to mess with. It's a very dangerous monster at, you know, in almost any position. And especially so if you're not together. The Wraith excels at killing people when they're by themselves. What is that? That was weird. Yeah, the Wraith excels at killing people on their own, so being close together, or at least being within range of each other, is vital when playing against the Wraith. Oh, there he is. Because I see him, and I have the bubble shield out, but I didn't want to use it, because the Wraith has this, instead of jumping like the Goliath or flying, it has like a teleport dash that is incredibly fast and long range, and makes it very, very hard to make sure that he stays within it. I missed him right there, too. Which is unfortunate. He barely made it out.
Let's get the monster over here. See what happens.
So, at some point there, I hit him with one of those harpoon traps that I laid down earlier, and you saw that in the bottom left corner. I got a in-game, you know, achievement sort of thing for doing that, which is cool. I didn't expect that to happen, but, you know, that's why you lay down those traps, and it kind of slows him up, and, you know, gives us a chance to catch up with him. So Dan sees the monster and decides to go in, and I'm just a little bit behind, hoping that I can catch up before the monster runs away. But the monster doesn't run away; he decides to stay and fight. So I start to lay down some traps because it doesn't look like he's going to be running from this one. And Hyde does some serious damage to that shield with his flamethrower. I think it may have made him run away. Yeah, I think that it definitely scared the monster, seeing the amount of damage that was done. It's just a short period of time. And I think that's what makes Hyde such a good assault, is that he just does incredible damage. Paused. 2 minutes paused. So there is a time limit on matches. I think it may be close on this one, yeah. So I think matches are like 20 minutes timed, so after 20 minutes I think that the hunters win, so the monster kind of has to go in. So we lay down this bubble shield, his armor's gone, he's got very little health, and he hasn't reached stage 3 yet, so we're in a good position. You know, we're centered to win this match. I start firing when I can. I'm laying down some more harpoon traps just in case he tries to get around on this left side, which I figured he would, but it doesn't look like he does. Our support's really low on health. And there he is. He's in Supernova. Or he's not in Supernova. He's just dashing around. Oh, that wasn't him. There he is. And he goes after me. He focuses me down. I get grabbed out of the air. It was a crazy combo. He knocked me up in the air, then threw me and caught me with the other thing. He goes Supernova, starts attacking the Assault. And I know that the Assault has a personal shield, so I do believe he uses that right here. Yeah, to make sure he doesn't die. And then Lazarus kind of flies over top, uses the healing burst to heal Dan before he dies. We're doing really, really good damage. Although during the monster's supernova form, he goes after Daisy, which is just silly, but our assault is down. Our support is trying to heal him, or shield him so he doesn't get killed. I'm getting attacked, but the monster ends up dying, so there's a lot going on in that last fight. But I think that does it for the round. I hope you kind of got a taste for what Maggie does. There will definitely be more of me playing Maggie and the other trappers in a later video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you watch the other ones. I hope to also get the frame rate problems fixed, because I think that was very, very silly. I think that's the worst frame rate I've had on a match so far. So, but I think it was a good example of what Maggie does. So I wanted to show that to you guys. You know, let me know how you liked it. Oh yeah, we unlocked Griffin, so I'll have a video on him later. But yeah, let me know how you like it, and I hope to see you on the next one.